I am pretty sure it got cut off, like my video recording got cut off a lot earlier. I do apologize for that. I was just kind of ranting about, sorry, just getting my thought process clear and um calling the class level attribute in a object method from the through the class or from the object itself. And basically what we discovered was that if it's called from the object from the class level, so instead of self, it would have been item, it would remain as 20. Therefore, any changes done outside to the object would not impact it. Because sure, for the object level, the attribute, like the class attribute got changed, but we remain calling it from the class level, which doesn't really change unless you were to go back and change the class level attribute value. So, yep. And in this case, we have over here the following. I know my terminal is fairly crowded. I do apologize for that. But, and so yeah, we have two different purchases. Let's say the cashier just print thing conducted, and for the first purchase we were able to say that, hey, for bonsai the refund value is 3 days, so you can let the customer know. And but however, for the temperatures, it doesn't really have any special case for refund, so therefore we're going to stick to 220. So that's essentially what I have. So that's something that I've kind of got my head wrapped around so far. So class level attributes and and versus object attributes, and the major thing is just about whether whenever you are going to be calling them within the methods of a class, we have to be mindful of whether we call it from the through the class itself, or do we call it through the or do we call it through the object, sorry, using self. In this case we did. Great. Now yeah, just reviewing over class level attributes I defined in class level outside of constructor. Also noted the lack of self, which I also mentioned when mentioned with an object. Program will first search the object attributes for it, and if not found, it will then check the class level for it. Yeah. Now the next thing was magic methods. This was kind of a bit of one of those things where in the tutorial it went about doing its thing. It showed like the RARP side the Ripper just as a representation of the object. But then I really didn't understand like what it kind of went about, like what that was all about. So just a quick from what I understood is the following, is that, and I'm gonna go along the same line, something that I kind of got didn't quite understand, but like it's like, sorry, what I'm trying to say is, if I go with the understanding that everything is an object in Python, right? So whether it be like number 9, let's say if I was to do number 9, let me quickly go ahead, just these guys out for, oops, these guys out for a quick second. Okay, so number 9, and if I was to do the type of number 9, this is going to show us that it's an object of int, it's a class of int, right? And of course, with the way with this class, we have and sorry, yeah, let's do another, let's do like a string type, right? Let's do number 9. Although, so in this case, we see an integer class and we see a string class. Now, of course, with the strings, as we know, with like both of these, we know that we can add or concatenate them respectively. So if I was to do now number 9, oops, and number 9 plus 9. So that is actually like another, like that is an operation, right? Now, of course, if I was to do, just trying to think of how would I show, oh yeah, now converting an integer into a string would be like would result in a string, right? And if I was to do type, we can have to confirm that this is the case. Now both of those show us the same thing. And now, what am I trying to accomplish here? Trying to accomplish here showing that the operations, or sorry, the methods that we use, add, length, um, like of those things, these are all essentially just methods. And in a class, we're able to, because now we're creating another object, we're just creating like, just like number 9 is an object of the class string. We are also going to be creating a class, and then in that, we're also going to, from that class, we're also going to be able to define its own methods. So let's say, now let's go back to keep keeping these in. We converted a integer to a string, and then we checked its type, which is the class string, which is perfect, right? Now let's go back into our bonsai and see what comes out for this. We get this, and let me quickly just comment this out. We get this long blurb, right? This is just basically saying that, hey, this is an object of the item class, and this is I believe this, from my understanding, that this is just the location of the memory location of the object where it's stored. Now, this is fairly not readable, right? But hey, like that's what that's what it shows. Um, and if I was to also do item, I wonder if that's going to show, right? Because the item is a class, and then it's pretty much like not exactly as user friendly. Now within here, what if I was to do like, so a magic method that I understood was essentially just those being able to customize those methods according to our need for that object that we're about to create. Just like any number or string is an object, what we are creating here through a class is also another object. So while like 9 plus 9, 2 objects are being able to add, we may not exactly be able to add 9 plus another object called bonsai. However, what if we were, but then those methods also do still exist, and like what I understand is that we're still able to get those methods like add, length, string, like all of those, but we can actually customize it to our own liking. So what I saw in here was the following. Okay, so in this case, if we didn't want to see this form, right? Sorry, this pretty much unreadable form, not the exact user-friendly form. In this case, what if we were to do item, and in here we were able to exactly show like the item itself and how it's initialized, right? So what we can do is something like, if you want to see essentially just this type, and apparently this is like making a representation in this form is like a standard, just because we should be able to simply copy the representation and then put it in to a command line, and we should be able to return an object. So sticking to that convention for the time being, if I was to do item name self dot price self dot quantity, what I expect this to produce is basically this. But instead of now this ugly form, we're gonna be able to see something much more prettier, right? And this is it. And let's say if I was to do this, the same thing for temperatures and as well as, oops, this is like equal perfect. Oops, and mix aquatic. We should be able to see those object, the representation of that object, not in this unreadable form, not so much of a friendly readable form, but more of like a readable form where we are exactly able to just take this and carry along with our operation. Now, of course, with this, the one problem that I do see is here we have, like, we've defined the name of the string. So we have to go back here and we're going to have to do a single quote outside of the curly brackets to be able to represent that as a string. So there we are. And now if I was to just completely take, like, just copy paste this and put it somewhere else to our program, we would be able to continue on. Okay. So that is that for the RAPR method. Now, the next thing I'm going to be carrying on with is going to be class methods, static and class methods. So after I review that, I'm going to be able to get on with it. Now, the one thing that I did find pretty interesting that I just want to kind of tinker around with is, let's do the add method, right? So in here we have, I believe there are two because I have to add to something else. Self and other, I think, as I saw. But if we wanted to add two items for, let's say, the context of purchasing it or combining them into a group, then we should be able to see the total worth, right? Let's just say that. We have a certain type of category of plants, succulents, or I don't know all these different names, but perennials, succulents, and bonsai. So let's say we have the two different types, or home type, like home, or like home category for plants, etc. Anyway, if we want to group them and we want to show the total worth of those, how would we do that? Now, we would technically have to take the sum of this and the sum of this and then add them in, right? And what I mean by that is the following. So let's say, and then I'm going to show how we would go about like adding in two objects. Just like 9 plus 9, we would be able to do this. But you might be asking that, hey, but we have like a full on, like the other attributes other than just 9, right? So how do you like add that? Now, the thing is, we can actually take some parts, like some attributes, and combine them and then produce an outcome. So what that looks like is self dot, there's going to be kind of a bit of tricky, I guess. Self dot, price times self dot quantity, now, and then plus other, because I have to add to something else. So let's say if we were to bring us a second object, like 9 plus 10. So that's, we would be referring to that as self dot other dot quantity. What I think that this is going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do print bonsai add with temperatures, let's say that. So what I expect to see is 7,500 bucks, 7,500 worth as combined value. So let's go ahead and do this. And okay, so what seems to be the issue here? Okay, then there's no attribute. So attribute. Okay, so let's say sum. We have these two being declared. Okay. Item object has no